First, I am Angel Dane Serrano, your assigned teacher for today. So, our topic for today is all about learning style and preference. To understanding the 7 different approaches that influence how individuals process and retain information, we have visual, oral, verbal, physical, logical, social, and solitary. So before we proceed, we have learned lesson objectives. First is enumerate the 7 learning style. Second, describe characteristic and preference. Third, apply appropriate teaching strategies. So, what are learning style? So, learning style refers to the distinct ways individuals prefer to receive, process, and understand information, influence how we learn and retain knowledge. In similar words, a learning style is your favorite way to take and retain knowledge. Remember it, some people like to see things, some like to hear things, and some like to do things. This preference affect how easily you learn and how you remember what you learn. So we have 3 aspects of learning style. First is individual differences. Each person has unique preference based on how their brain process information. This means that you are unique. Your brain is wired a little differently than your friend's brain. Because of this, you might find math easier if you see a picture a visual way, while your friend might learn it better by listening to the teacher explain it an auditory way. These differences are normal. So the second is cognitive preferences. Reflect how individuals naturally absorb and comprehend educational content. Cognitive just means anything related to do things, and understanding this point explain that your learning style show how your brain naturally like to do take in lesson. Do you like reading the textbook or do you prefer watching a video? That your cognitive preference showing itself. So the third is educational impact. Understanding style can enhance teaching methods and improve academic success. This is the most important part for teacher. If a teacher knows that some students learn best by seeing things, they can use more picture or diagrams. If they know others learn best by doing, they can use more hands-on activities. When teaching matches how students learn best, everyone does better in school. In short, learning styles are about recognizing that everyone has a different way to learn, and understanding those ways help make learning better for everyone. So, according to Acero L at 2015, which describe how individual process and retain information. First is visual learning style. This style is for people who learn best by seeing things. Prefer using image, graphs, and spatial understanding. If you like looking at diagrams, chart, or watching videos to understand a concept, you might be a visual learner. Second, oral or auditory learning style. This style is for people who learn best by hearing things, prefers using sound and music, learn through listening. If listening to lecture, discussion, or reading text aloud help you remember information, you might be an oral learner. Third is verbal learning style. This style focuses on learning through words, both spoken and written. Prefer using words both in speech and writing. If you learn will be reading textbook, writing notes, or explaining concept out loud to someone else, you might be a verbal learner. Fourth is physical or kinesthetic learning style. These styles is for people who learn best by doing or moving, prefers using body, hands, and sense of touch. If you need to build models, conduct experiments, or move around while studying to grasp a concept, you might be a physical learners. Fifth is logical learning style. This style is for people who learn best by thinking through the structure of the information. Prefer using logic, reasoning, and system. If you like to understand why something works, enjoy solving puzzle, or prefer information presented in structure, systematic way, you might be a logical learners. So the sixth, social learning style. This style is for people who learn best when interacting with others, prefers to learn in groups or with other people. If study groups, discussion, and teaching other help you learn the best, you might be a social learner. And the last is solitary learning. This style is for people who learn best when they are by themselves, prefer to work alone, and use self-study. If you can create best when you have quiet time to read, reflect, and study on your own, you might be a solitary learners. So first is visual spatial learners. These are people who learn best when they can see the information. So characteristic of visual learners, these are the spatial things that visual learners are naturally good at. Visual processing, you learn new things best when you look at picture, drawings, maps, chart, or patterns. If someone show you a diagram instead of just telling you the tips, you understand it much better. For people recognition, you are very good at remembering what people look like even if you forget their names. You are also great at noticing patterns in what you see. You might recognize a face instantly but struggle to recall the name you just heard. Next is spatial awareness. You have a good sense of where things are in space, like knowing how to get around or how objects fit together. You can often picture things in your mind, like turning a shape around in your head. You are good at puzzle or imagining what a 3D object looks like just by looking at a flat drawing of it. So the effective learning strategies for visual learners. Since these learners learn best by seeing, here are the best way for them to study. So first is visual aid and graphic organizer. Use things like flowchart or concept map to organize information. Next is color coding and highlighting. Use different colored pens or highlighters to separate ideas in your notes. For example, use blue for definition and pink for examples. 3. Diagrams and mind maps. Draw picture or create maps that connect ideas together instead of just writing long sentences. Next is chart and graphs for data. When you have number or facts, turn them into a bar graph or pie chart to see the information clearly. Last is visual demonstration. Watching someone show you how to do something like a science experiment or a math problem being worked out on the board is very helpful. So next is oral auditory musical learners. So oral auditory musical learners. So oral learners prefers using sound and music to process information. They learn effectively through auditory means and often remember information they heard. This means if you are an oral learner, your ears are your best learning tools. You remember things best after you hear them spoken aloud. So the four areas of oral learners, we have learning preference, memory strength, effective strategies, and ideal environment. So the first is learning preference. We have lecture and presentation, group discussion. This tells me what helps them learn the most. Oral learners love listening to the teacher talk, lecture, and enjoy talking things out with classmate discussion. The second is memory strength. Remember what they hear, learn through rhythm. This tells me what they are naturally good at remembering. If you tell an oral learner a story or a set of instruction, they will likely remember the words they heard. They might they might also remember things better if they are put to a song or a beat rhythm. Number three, effective strategies. We have regular lecture, use mnemonic devices. These are trick or action that help them study better. So, so this let them listen to the teacher voice again. These are memory tricks, often involving rhythm, song, or silly phrases which use sound to help remember facts. And the last is ideal environment. We have minimal visual distraction, background music. These describe where they study best since they focus on sound. Too many things to look at like busy poster or lost of movement can distract them. They might even prefer having soft, quiet music playing while they study as long as it doesn't have words that compete with what they are trying to think about. So next slide, we have verbal linguistic learners. So, verbal learners are people who learn best when information is presented using words, both when they hear them speech and when they read them writing. Language is their favorite tools for understanding new things. So, we have characteristic. They are the things that verbal learners usually like or good at. We have They like written materials. They prefer learning from things like textbook, list, notes, and explanation that are written down. Next is they are good notes taker. When someone is talking in a class or a meeting, they like to write down a lot of details in their notes. The third is they like to talk it out. They enjoy reading things out loud to themselves or explaining concepts by talking about them. And the last is they are good communicator. They usually have strong skills when it comes to speaking and expressing themselves with words. So our learning strategies for verbal learners to help a verbal learner study better. Here are some good ways to teach or study. We have written structure. Give them structure and feedback, comments on their work in writing. Next is summarizing. Ask them to explain what they learned in their own words, either by writing a summary or by saying it out loud. And the third is word activities. Use activities that involve words like vocabulary, games, or having good discussion. And the last is choose in output. Let them choose how they show what they know. For example, they could write a report, reading assignment, or give a speech or oral presentation. So next slide. So we have Physical kinesthetic learners. So physical learners prefers using their body, hands, and sense of touch to understand things. They learn best through experience and practice. If they can touch it, build it, or move around while learning, they will understand it much better. So these are the main ways physical learners like to interact with new information. We have hand-on approach. They need to physically handle object and move materials around to truly grasp a concept. For example, building a model instead of just reading about it. So the second is experimentation. They learn will be trying things out, something making mistake, trial and error, and figuring out the concept for themselves through action. And next is physical activity. They benefits a lot from movement. They often find it hard to set still or long period while trying to learn. So our learning preference, these are the types of learning situation that work best for them. So we have experimental learning opportunities, learning by actually doing something. Next is laboratory experiments and demonstration, getting to work in a lab setting or watch physical demonstration. Next is role playing and simulation, acting out scenarios or using computer simulation that mimic real life action. Next is learning through touch and manipulation, anything that involve physically interacting with object. So effective strategies to help a physical learner study, we have practice. They need repeated physical engagement with the materials. This means doing practice problems, buildings, things, or physically reviewing concepts. So collaboration, working with other in-group activities helps them learn by moving, discussing, and physically working together on a task. So next slide. So we have logical mathematic learners. Logical learners prefers using logic, reasoning, and system to understand the world. They really enjoy figuring out how things work, solving problems in finding patterns in information. Logical learners are drawn to activities that involve structure and analysis. Here are their main preference. We have system analysis. They like to create system or organize way to put information together logically. Next is problem solving. They enjoy the challenge of tackling complex problem and puzzle. Next is pattern recognition. They are good at spotting patterns and understand the relationship between different pieces of data or information. Next is system understanding. They have a strong desire to understand why and how systems like machine, rule, rules or processes function, why they do. Next is logical reasoning. They prefer using structured way of thinking such as inductive reasoning, moving from specific observation to broader or generalization, and deductive reasoning, moving from general rules to specific conclusion. Next is mathematical thinking. They prefer learning methods that are structured step by step and based on clear logic or mathematics. In short, if you love math, science, puzzle, and figuring out the underlying rules or how things operate, you might be a logical mathematical learners. So next slide. So we have social interpersonal learners. Social learners prefers to learn in groups or with other people. They do really well in learning environment that involves discussion, group project, and working together collaboratively. Social learners thrive when they can interact with their peers. Here are their main characteristics. So we have group learning preference. They enjoy learning in group setting and working with their classmate peers. They function best in classroom environment that encourage talking and interaction. Next is discussion engager. They thrive in discussion and debates. They often remember information better when it is part of a conversation. Next is collaboration workers. They excel in group, project, and team assignment. They learn most effective when they are collaborating and sharing the word of solving a problem with others. Next is idea sharer. They enjoy sharing their ideas with others and teaching concepts to their peers. Their learning gets better when they can express themselves socially. In simple terms, if you learn best by talking things out, working in them, and vouching ideas of, of, of other people, you are likely a social learners. So next slide. So we have solitary intrapersonal learners. Solitary learners prefer to work alone and use self-study. These are independent learners who think deeply about what they are learning and prefer quiet study environments where they won't be interrupted. These are the main ways solitary learners approach learning. So first is independent learning. They thrive without constant guidance. They prefer to navigate new materials on their own, figuring things out of themselves. Next is deep reflection. They engage in profound thinking about the materials. They learn best when they can connect new concepts to their own past experiences. Next is quiet environment. They require peaceful surrounding to concrete and absorb information effectively. Noise and distraction make it hard for them to focus. Next is self-directed. They are good at setting their own personal goals for learning. They manage their own learning speed, pace, and the way the study style. So, we have learning preference. There are the types of study methods that work best for solitary learners. We have self-paced study, being able to move as fast or as slow as they need to. Next is personal reflection. Time set aside just for thinking deeply about what they have learned. Next is independent assignment. Tasks that they can complete entirely on their own. Next is self-created study guides, making their own notes, summaries, or guides. Guides help them process the information internally. If you prefer to study in silence, like to think things through deeply by yourself, and enjoy setting your own study schedule, you might be a solitary learners. And next slide. So we have identifying your learning style. There are several ways to discover your personal learning preference. These methods help you look inward and test out different ways of studying. So we have self-reflection. This method involves looking back at your own past experience to see what worked best for you. So reflect on past learning experience. Think about times in school or when learning something new when you felt you understood the material really well. So identify which study method yield best result. So ask yourself, did I learn best when I read it, listen to it, did an activity or talk about it? So the second is questionnaire. Have complete assessment tools like VARC. VARC is a popular tools that stand for visual, oral, auditory, read or write, and kinesthetic. Talking these tests give you a score based on your answer. So answer question about learning preference is the survey asks you direct question about how you like to take in and process information. And the last is study habit information. So experiment with diverse learning techniques. Trying start Try to studying one topic using a visual method like drawing a diagram and the next topic using a verbal method like reading notes aloud. So notice which approach feel most natural. So pay attention to which techniques made the learning feels easy, interesting, or effective for you. So that's all our my topic. Thank you.